Exists. Like until this fear and intimidation is blown out of this city, the right people that need to identify themselves and step up and run for these offices are not going to do it. It's not worth it to them. They don't want to take the risk. Some of them have good jobs and they're trying to feed their family. You know, when petty and incompetence comes together, that's called Chester politics. That's the stuff we're getting rid of.
That's the stuff we're getting rid of. First 90 days in office, what do you hope to be able to implement? New plans, new procedures?
It's not a hope. You know, you don't get into this thing hoping. So what's going to happen on May 16th is I'm going to win the election. On May 17th, I'm going to take a long nap. On May 18th, we're going to go to work. So what work means is we've identified key areas in this city and identified people that we want to bring in, and there's that word again, vet or interview, to be that transition team. So when we do hit the ground running, provided we win the November election, which is pretty much a given, on the first week of January when we take office, there's going to already be some things in place. What are they going to be? It's going to be identified or made more clear as we get through the summer and the fall. But I tell you the first thing that I'm going to do, and it's something that's critically important in this town, I'm going to meet every business owner in this city in the first 90 days. That's my number one objective. I want to shake hands and look eye to eye to every business owner in this town, because the connection between the businesses in this city and city government is like this. We know the big guys, but do we know all the guys on the riverfront? Do we know all the guys that have these little businesses going on? Why do we want to get to know them? Because they need to be hiring our people.
Yes, they do.
We need to, people say, bring businesses to this city so people can work. But we have businesses in this city and our people aren't working. That's critical that we make that relationship. Too many people drive into this town from all over the place. And at the end of the workday, they're driving out. We don't know what they make. I'm not talking about salary. I'm talking about, are they manufacturers? Are they, what do they do? We just don't know. So the first 90 days, that's going to be in place. There's already some good things going on in city government that the direction is being changed. And, the one thing I'm going to promise you is that we're going to certainly treat this city like a business by getting those partnerships within our city solidified first. That's what we got right now. We got a guy ourselves, and that's what we got right now. We got a guy who wants to make all the decisions. You can just see from his campaign. Like if his campaign is any indication of how he runs the city, you can see how we differ. Like he has a ticket. It's him. It's two council persons. It's a controller. But if you look at that lawn sign that you see all across town, it's just him. It's just him. So that's exactly what you have in place right now, and that's exactly what you're not going to see with me as mayor. We had some good people that we talked to, but for one reason or another, and a lot of it is just fear, intimidation that exists in this town. They did not want to run. They didn't want to risk their jobs. They didn't want to risk their reputation. They didn't want to risk losing and having a thumb on their neck for the rest of their lives. So at some point, you just have to just say, forget it. Let's just roll. We won by so much. It's obvious to anybody who follows this stuff that we could have beat the second candidate hands down, no problem. We're in the same situation again. It would make a lot more sense if we had a ticket. That's what it's called when, I'm at the top of the ticket as mayor, identify a couple city council people, identify a controller. We can even go school board. We can even go district judge. We can go all the way, right. Up and down the ticket.
Right.
Same situation exists. Like until this fear and intimidation is blown out of this city, the right people that need to identify themselves and step up and run for these offices are not going to do it. It's not worth it to them. They don't want to take the risk. Some of them have good jobs and they're trying to feed their family. When petty and incompetence comes together, that's called Chester politics. That's the stuff we're getting rid of.
That's the stuff we're getting rid of.
We can run out of money before we get through bankruptcy. We can run out of money before we get through bankruptcy. And if that's the case, the city's done. So, we talk about council a little bit. You have to understand that, how important is council, mayor, and council when the receiver's still here, when the receiver's still kind of running the show here, so he can get us straight. He wasn't expecting to be here for 3 years, and now through bankruptcy, might be 4 or 5. He, like Gilligan's Island, what did they call it, a 3-hour tour? He was only here for 2 years. I mean, that was it. We're the only city ever in Pennsylvania of the 7 that has been in receivership that has resisted receivership. Like, the only way you get out of receivership is to go through receivership. And we're just sitting here like blocking him and giving him all kind of resistance. The state is like scratching their head like, we sent you to Calvary. We're giving you the help you need. No one has ever anticipated the type of resistance to the help that we've received from the state. And, it's to the point now that it's all the way to the Supreme Court. We're just dilly-dallying, waiting, wasting time, when these guys should be working on the books, getting the book straight. Now they got to prepare for a court case that's going to be heard on May 24th and ruled on sometime in the future. That wasn't the plan. In fact, I'm really surprised the Supreme Court is even hearing this case. I thought when the city sent them the letter and says we appeal the judge's decision, that they'd say, from where? Chester, PA? Boom, return to sender. Like, we ain't playing with y'all. The judge said what the judge said. Right. But the judge had a hard time making a decision because no one has ever resisted receivership before. Right. So the Supreme Court had a really, almost a nice assist or a layup now. They can put some things in place so that if in the future some town is as silly as Chester resisting receivership, the judges can say, listen, we've been through that before. Here's the authority that your receiver has for the time that he's here so he can get y'all straight and then get out of here without just wasting all this time.
That's crazy because the next question was, can you work with the receiver? But we see that you can.
Well, I'm almost mad that you asked me that question, right. But it's a great question. Right. Can I work with the receiver? Yeah. I'm the only one working with the receiver. What people fail to realize, and I kind of blame it on the press, and I'm talking about the newspapers, because it's like when we vote on things in council, even if there's one no vote, the result is mayor and council approved whatever, right? Even though there's a dissenting vote. So I've been the dissenting vote on everything that's almost everything that's that the receiver has brought up. So when the receiver wanted to take us to court, his filing was harsh. And the city was like, nah, we don't want that. Got in the same room, couldn't agree on what we wanted. So the receiver was just going to go to court with what he had. I was like, I'm going to call the receiver. Can we sit down and talk? So things like having total say over everything in the city government. I was like, Mr. Receiver, that ain't going to happen. You can have some thoughts, some opinions, but us in city government, because people voted for us to make these decisions for the city, we have to make these decisions together. He took his eraser out and said, hey, you're right. So it's going to be receiver and city government, mayor and council. The other thing I did agree with is I really don't think we should be running departments. He was like, okay, good, that's what I said. But I said, Mr. Receiver, we need to create committees because some of this work needs to get done regardless. People don't vote for council people to run departments. They vote for council people to represent them in the city. It's only when we show up at City Hall that the mayor appoints us to these departments. And believe me, it sucks the air out of the room because once we step into City Hall, we become employees. We become the bosses of our departments. And it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort. It fractures city government, which is some of the problems that we have. But the bottom line is I told Mr. Receiver, I'm cool with just being a city councilman because that's what people vote on me for. But we have to put the people in place to run these departments who are qualified to run these departments. But there's some issues and factors that don't fall cleanly in these departments, so we'll set up some committees. He was like, you know what? He broke out the eraser, put his pen in, do that. The other part was, and it was really only a 3-part ask that I had of him, I said, we need a chief of staff. Our employees report to all 5 of us. That's why the judge says we're dysfunctional, because people don't know what to do, don't know who to answer to.
Absolutely. So
a chief of staff is just that, a chief of the entire staff. Uh-huh. He's the guy at the top of the totem pole, if you will, who manages the entire employee base of the city other than elected officials. If this receivership doesn't work, if this receivership doesn't work, there's a chance we can go into bankruptcy. We're in bankruptcy now. Now he's saying if we run out of money before bankruptcy over, the next thing is unincorporation. So he's always told you what's next if things can't get done.
What
the Worrell candidate just has, number one, no government experience. In Chester, you got to be from Chester if you're going to try to run Chester. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just a given. As far as the mayor himself, he's had 8 great years to, address Chester's most important problems, and he's ignored them all. I love the fact that he always points back to the fact that the problems preceded him, and financially, of course they have. We've been in this, financial help from the state for 25 years. So in taking the job and wanting to take the job and wanting to leave your cushy state rep job to come down to the city, it should have been with all the resources that the state rep position had afforded you, over all those years of relationships. That's what I really thought we were going to get. We had a Democratic governor in Wolf. I'm like, wow, he's bringing down the cavalry to come and fix this stuff. And to hear what he's saying now is like, it wasn't really a priority to deal with the financial situation. And all I'm trying to do is kind of, brush this off of me right now, because all this started before me. Just tells me that he was an insincere candidate from the beginning. I mean, he came in here not to fix Chester's problems, but just to kind of accentuate Chester's problems. Now all of a sudden, or I don't even know if now all of a sudden he wants to turn around because he's continuing to stay down this same path. He's resisting the help that's here. He's not seemed to demonstrate to me that he has any financial acumen. He's not surrounding himself with anybody who's, best and brightest in finance. He's not even taking the materials that the receiver has uncovered and use them to his advantage and say, you know what, with the stuff that the receiver has brought us, we can actually make our own plan to get out of government or get out of our financial situation. That's what people were looking for. What's the city's plan to get out of our financial mess? And he has not presented one at all. And that's why, you just can't pick away at the receiver's plan. What is your plan? If you want to have a real battle that has any feet or any fight to it, it's your plan versus his plan. It's not no plan versus picking away at his plan. So I don't need to come in with a plan for the finances. I need to get on the team that's getting the finances right. Disincorporation means you got nothing left. We got to bring something here. Nothing breaks my heart more than seeing Wells Fargo just tiptoe out of town without even a meeting. Like, y'all, Wells, hold up. Like when your biggest bank, national brand bank, just leaves your town is suffering. It's hurting. We didn't even have a conversation with those guys.
I believe it was with no.
The one thing I will promise you is that the money will not follow Kirkland. The money's not going to come here with Kirkland. It's not going to come. This thing is going to be, this could be the last mayor's election ever in the city of Chester.
That's crazy. If it's still a city.
If it's still a city. That's as real as I can put it. Believe it or not, I have nothing to lose here. I'm putting it all out on the line, or as they say, what is basketball playoff time? I'm leaving it all on the court, and I'm doing it because I love this city. I love the people in the city. The people in the city deserve to have a city to live in. Chester deserves more. That's our slogan. But more importantly, or as importantly, we've got to put some respect on our name. These last 8 years. Look, I've got articles from the last 2 or 3 days. WHYY, Philadelphia Inquirer, Daily Times. They're all talking trash about Chester. We get no respect, and these articles go nationwide. We We're the laughing stock of municipalities in the country. The 31st municipality in the whole United States of America in the last 85 years to file bankruptcy. And then I read something in the paper today that ain't no big deal. It's just bankruptcy. People used to being in a bad financial condition. Hell no. Nobody wants to. Do you want to be in bankruptcy?
No, I don't.
Do you want to have no credit? Do you want to not be able to buy a car? Do you want to not be able to get even electricity turned on in your home? That's what it means when your city is in bankruptcy. We're in bad shape right now, y'all. And the other mayors like poo-pooing it, like, oh man, that's all political. That's, he's just playing politics. Man, this is real. This is very real. We're at the end of the line, y'all. I'm going to start off with the statement I said when I came in here. Chester needs a fresh start, not a tragic end. It's coming up. This city needs to young up in government. We need the 35 and 40-year-olds in here who are bosses out on these streets to be bosses in government. We need you guys. So please, just being real right now, guys. I mean, whatever happens on May 16th is going to happen on May 16th. If y'all want to go with the status quo, you're taking a big risk for your city. If you want to see this thing change, if you want to see the type of help that I'm telling you is going to come, that's the chance you really need to take. If I was a gambling man going down to Harris, I'd bet on Stefan Roots on May 16th. That's the only lever you need to pull. And this, we were with a group of people last night, and they said, the problem with Steph is he ain't a politician. He's just a genuine dude. And, you got to learn the political game, and the political game, it's not always just a game, but, and I got to know how to manipulate through different governments. But the bottom line is it's about people. It's about saving this city right now. This is a critical time. I'm telling you, this is a critical time. We ain't going to get to January if you vote that other dude in. I'm telling you right now. That 2608 West 3rd Street. We have a campaign office.
33rd, the old South Street.
3rd and Wilson, right down from KYJ's, right across from 2701, which is a great partner on the block.
Not over town. His office is not over town.
We wanted to be on the west side where they say they don't have any representation. Nobody ever comes down here. Right. We're down every day. We're open from 4 to 7 on Monday through Thursdays. There's somebody in there. And then on Saturdays from 1 to 5. Come on down, get some literature, meet me, meet the team, join the team. We're looking for volunteers. Election day is up. Everybody on the street's going to matter. People need to come out and vote. The more people that vote, the better chance Stefan Roots has of winning. It's that simple. You see the signs all around town. That's because we started the process of showing people how to campaign. Now, I must say, the signs are kind of crazy out there right now. They're all over the place.
I want them all picked up the day after Election Day. All of them picked up the day after Election Day.
Facts.
All of them picked up the day after. I need you to look at me. I want them all picked up the day after Election Day.
Facts.
I'm tired of coming out and seeing them the next week, next month, next. It's signs up right now in a park right now. Somebody ran back in November. Get your signs up. Pick your signs up. Win or lose. Please pick your signs up.